President, please be seated. The court is now back in session, and the floor is given to Judge Lavagna to resume the questioning. You may proceed.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Witness, we have to forget about the biographies given to you. I have a general question for you. When you were the director of S21, do you remember whether there were Vietnamese prisoners who were fishermen and who had been sent to S21?
Vietnamese who entered into Cambodian territory were arrested and sent to S21. And some of them were considered the agents, secret agents, and underwent interrogation.
Est-ce que seulement certains...
Was it only some of those who were sent to S21 were considered as spies, or all those who were sent to S21 were considered as spies? Do you understand my question? Was it only some of those who were sent to S21 who were considered as spies, or it was all those who were sent to S21 who were considered as spies?
After they were sent into S21, the decision was made by the upper echelon that they were spies. Not only Yuan, the 4 Westerners who entered into Cambodia were considered spies, and Thai fishermen or Siamese fishermen were considered spies as well after they were arrested. And I told the court already about the issue.
Bien. Je voudrais maintenant qu'on aborde l'interrogatoire des prisonniers vietnamiens. Vous nous avez dit que ces interrogatoires étaient confiés à Mam Nai, alias Chan. Mais que Mam Nai...
We are now going to talk about the interrogation of Vietnamese prisoners. You have stated that those interrogations were carried out by Mam Nai. I was saying that we'll go into another line of questioning, which is the interrogation of Vietnamese prisoners. You have explained that those prisoners were interrogated by Mam Nai, and if I understood you correctly, Mam Nai was called Chan. But Mam Nai, alias Chan, was also assisted by an interpreter whose name was also Chan. Can you give us the exact name of the interpreter who assisted Mam Nai in interrogating prisoners?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have told the court a few days ago, but in different context. Mam Nai's revolution name was Chan, and the assistant to Mam Nai was the prisoner who was Lao Sien Khmer from Hanoi. His name was Pa Tha Chan, alias Chan, and Mam Nai alias Chan as well. So the interpreter was the assistant to Mom Nai, and he was the prisoner.
Donc, Pa Tan Chan
So, Pat Tan Chan assisted during numerous interrogations of Vietnamese prisoners. Is that correct?
Answer. Patajan assisted in interpretation of Vietnamese prisoners, many of Vietnamese prisoners.
Pa Tan Chan était lui-même un prisonnier
Patachan was himself a prisoner, and he had been spared in order to work as an interpreter. That was the purpose for which he was not executed. Is that correct?
Because we needed him for interpretation, and he was needed to teach Vietnamese to Brother Mom Nai. That is why he was not taken to be killed.
Si. Est-ce que vous savez s'il a survécu?
Do you know whether he survived?
I do not know when we were fleeing. However, later on, I have seen various documents stating that Patachan made mention about the water container, and that was mentioned by Van Nat. After 7 January, I do not know what happened to him or whether he survived.
Alors, je vais demander à la cabine.
Very well. I'll request the audiovisual unit to screen part of an interview carried out by Ritipan for Botpana. And it is an interview of Patachan, and it's only a few minutes long. After the screening, I'll ask you to react to its contents. Let me point out that it is an extract of a video, and the exhibit number is E3/2352R. E3/2352R, and the transcript of this video footage in French is available still under the same exhibit number E3/2352, and in Khmer the ERN is 012 39 94 4 to 012 963. In French, 012 41 045 to 59.
President, the interpretation did not follow you, and it's not clear. Could you repeat it?
The ERN in Khmer 012 39 944 to 963. ERN in French 01241 045 to 59.
President, there was no interpretation into Khmer a while ago. Still, issue persisted.
Bien, donc je vais redire.
Let me give you the ERN in Khmer again. 012-399-44 2 0 1 2 3 9 9 6 3. ERN in French 012 41 045. Let me point out that the extract that we will soon watch starts at 004821 up to 005551. Has everything been translated into Khmer, and can we now screen this video footage?
President, AV unit, please show the video footage as requested by Judge Lavange on the screen. At the time, I was in the prison. And I was subject to interrogation session. I had to tell them the stories, which had nothing to do with me. They wanted me to confess. To that end, they beat me with a whip made from cow hide. Look at my back; it still bears the marks of the whipping. And then I did not reply. They beat me with a club. That part completely burst open. I bear the scars. They beat me. I suffered. I was a victim. They were always right. Thirdly and finally, they electrocuted me. They attached up pincers to both ears, and the current went through my brain. I sometimes became unconscious. They sprayed me with water and took me out by dragging me across the floor. They returned me to my cell, but if I woke up, they brought me back to interrogation. On the next occasion, they used another technique, the extraction of my nails. I was subjected to it and still bear the marks on my hands and feet. They removed my nails. It was so painful. The pain was not bearable. It was as if I was dead. I endured the pain and suffering. I convulsed. I died. They interrogated me, and it wasn't going anywhere. They returned me to prison. 2 or 3 days later, when I could stand, they started again and asked further questions. They interrogated me, and on this occasion, they plunged my head into a bucket of water. They beat me. They employed that technique. If I didn't lead to anything, they would then proceed to hang me in the air with downwards. That is what they also did. They wanted me to write a report on me, but I said no. I told them that I had waged the revolution correctly and that I had never betrayed. I told myself that I was going to die anyway, but told the truth nonetheless and didn't lie. I didn't betray the people and the resistance movement. However, they knew that I was not one of them. I was not a resistant veteran. I had to be eliminated. They weren't getting anywhere with me. They had to get rid of me. They interrogated me for information. They knew that I spoke Vietnamese. and must have signed my death warrant. But they nonetheless spared me so that I could work for them. When something happened, they came to fetch me so that I could interpret for them during their interrogation sessions. I did it. They shackled me and handcuffed me, but ordered me to translate and interpret. If I said something wrong, they would also assault me, beating me with a club. They interrogated me. No problem. The other person replied. I translated the truth, what the person replied. Most of the time, those guys told the truth. They said that they were ordinary people and had been fleeing to Thailand, or that they had been arrested. They said that it wasn't true. You are a member of the army. You have come to gather intelligence. You are invading Cambodia. That is what they said. That's what they wanted. It was what they could broadcast over the radio. They wanted the captives to speak about the business. Those people signed a fixed sentence and they executed them. They must have killed and buried the Vietnamese at Chiang Ai. Vietnamese may have been killed at that location, Chiang Ai. I do not know where exactly because they were making arrests across the country. At the time of the attack, the Vietnamese were not yet attacking into Cambodia. The Khmer Rouge made incursions into Vietnam and arrested ordinary people. Sometimes they did not succeed in capturing soldiers, so they took civilians and traders instead, and they classified them as invading troops to suit the situation. That was how it went. To my knowledge, I asked questions. Those Vietnamese were not what they said they were. I am not sure, but they had made them wear the clothes and bear the insignia. They made them wear it. They had collected clothing from the war against the Americans. At the beginning, the Vietnamese were there. They cooperated together to wage war. So they had found clothes and put it on those Vietnamese people. They distorted the truth. They said that therein lies the proof of the Vietnamese invasion. Those were Vietnamese who they kept on capturing, who had come to gather intelligence. In fact, it was not the Vietnamese who had encroached, but they had 5 or 10 kilometers into Vietnam. That was all done with the aim of securing international assistance. They wanted international sympathy over by having the world believe that Vietnam had invaded Cambodia and was seeking to swallow Khmer territory. That was from what I understand.
Monsieur le témoin.
Witness, first of all, do you recognize the person who was interviewed? And what do you have to say in light of what you have just heard?
That person is Pa Tha Chan. He was the one who had been. He was Pa Tha Chan. I recognize him very well. Number 2, the interview that he made. That interview is meant to shed light on politics. He wanted to alleviate what had done by the Vietnamese. So he exaggerated about the torture inflicted on prisoners. at the time, no submersing prisoners into the water are shown in the pictures at towards line. That kind of technique was not used. He does not show clearly in the video the evidence or the nails, the injured nail that he suffered. I think this is to show what happened to the cadres from Hanoi. So he was saying in the video, in order to alleviate what had been done by their people.
So, if I understood properly what you said, you're telling us that this witness is not telling us the truth with regard to the torture he underwent. He's maybe saying more than what is necessary. And his statements are biased. They somehow support what or endorse what the Hanoi cadres were doing back then. Is that what we must understand from what you just told us?
The content said by Patachan is that he supported those cadres from Hanoi, and he supported the plan of Ho Chi Minh in order to control Cambodia and to have Cambodia as part of the federation. First, they spoke about the same cause, that is to fight against the French, and that meant one party only, that is the Indo-Chinese party, with one government, one army. That was their initial idea.
Monsieur le témoin.
Witness, is that what you heard in the video excerpt that was just screened, or is that what you think? Because I did not hear that in the video excerpt.
The root cause was that of that policy, and what Patachan said was to fit that purpose.
What I heard is that the statements made by Vietnamese prisoners had to correspond to the statements that the party wished to hear. And that's what Tachan seems to be saying. He's also saying that some prisoners were not soldiers but were civilians, and that they, however, were presented as being soldiers, whereas that was not true. He also said that some Vietnamese were not arrested while they were on Cambodian soil, but that they were arrested during incursions by the DK forces into Vietnam. So what can you say to this?
Regarding the incursion by UN soldiers, indeed it happened, and the uniforms were theirs and not the uniforms from the previous time. That is one thing that I'd like to say.
Monsieur le témoin.
Witness, I was not speaking about the Vietnamese incursions into Cambodia. The witness spoke about DK forces attacking Vietnam. And he said that during these incursions, people had been captured and had been sent to S-21, and that these people were not only soldiers, but also civilians.
I have stated that there were many UN soldiers who were captured, and there were only a small number of UN civilians. So there were more UN soldiers than UN civilians. Second, of course, during the course of the attack, sometimes the UN side incurred into our territory, and sometimes we went into their territory. And that's what happened.
Monsieur.
Witness, can you tell us if Vietnamese civilian prisoners were forced to confess that they were Vietnamese soldiers?
UN soldiers were UN soldiers. As for UN civilians, they were forced to confess that they were UN spies. Of course, during the war, how could civilians engage in the war?
Bien, là,
Fine. The chamber will consider all this. Now I'd like to move on to a last topic. This is something that you already spoke about, in particular last Monday when you were being examined by the International Co-Prosecutor. You spoke about a film that had been made and shot by one of Pol Pot's nephews. Do you remember this film, and can you provide us with more detail about this film?
The film shot by 10 nephew of Pol Pot was in two parts. One was shot near the pond and the bushes to the north of Street 163 and Masetung Boulevard. And the second part was shot at my house, that is on Street 95. The part that was shot near the pond was a scene stage for the arrest of the UN soldiers who were instructed to raise their hands. As for this, the other part that was shot at my house on Street 95 was a scene where UN soldier who usually holds their helmet on the hand, but Tain said that that was not a right posture, that they should hold the helmet in both hands and bend their body a little bit. And they were instructed to only say a few words, that is to salute the Communist Party of Cambodia. And I recall that rather well. So allow me to say there were two scenes staged for the film.
Was this film screened during training sessions? And in particular, training sessions for the S-21 staff.
The only objective of the film was not to show in Cambodia or to show during the yearly celebration. The ultimate objective of the film was to show it at a conference held in Jakarta, so that participants of the conference know about the incursion into Cambodia by the UN.
Do you remember if this film was screened during training sessions which S-21 staff attended, or during the celebration of the party's anniversary on 17 April 1978?
The film was not shown at S21, and to my knowledge, it was not shown anywhere in the country.
However, several staff members at S21 said that they had seen a film showing the arrest of Vietnamese prisoners, their interrogation, and Him Huy even said that you could see the Vietnamese prisoners being executed and even disemboweled. So we can find these statements, Lac Minh statement at the hearing of 26 April 2016. This was at around 10:51. And Him Huy's statement at the hearing of 4 May 2016, first he was answering questions by Counsel Guiraud from 229 to 234. And then I questioned him from 302 to 315, or 316 rather. So do you remember if in this film there were scenes where you could see Vietnamese prisoners being executed?
The film that was shown at S21, Yvonne can describe about that. As for the scenes of the any execution of June soldiers, that was a lie, as it did not happen. And of course, the film that was shot at S21 was never shown to S21 staff. And allow me to say this, Your Honor. Him Huy spoke about the film, however, that was an invention by him. And as for Lac Minh, Your Honor already heard testimony of a person who claimed to be Lac Minh, and toward the conclusion of his testimony, the co-prosecutor showed a document. However, the person who claims to be Lac Minh denies that that was his signature. And I reiterate this point because I want to say that the person who claims to be Lac Minh to testify was an invention of Lac Minh, not a real Lac Minh who worked at S21. And I made that denial once. and maybe Your Honor still recall that. And I made a denied relation to a person named Chan Vươn. And at that time, toward the end of the conclusion, because in his testimony that I actually executed Pon and Pong, and then I asked him if I killed them, who else could I use to work at S21? And he stumbled upon his speech and he bent his head down. Then I made my conclusion to Your Honor that he was not real. And a similar case happened at Ograsa. And actually, Your Honor turned to his testimony about that. So in conclusion, I say that the person who claims to be large man and who testified before Your Honor was not a large man at S21. As for Hum Hui, his testimony is not reliable. He spoke to Ratipan that I kill people with a metal bar from an ox cart, and that's not possible. So his testimony is rather confusing and inventive.
Fine. The chamber will consider this. I believe that the question of the signature of the document that was signed by Lakmin, or the supposed Lakmin, was also brought up during this particular trial, and I believe we will get back to that issue. Now I'm going to ask the AV unit to screen the excerpt from the documentary Cambodia, Kampuchea, and please react to it. This is document E2354R.
Donc la vidéo.
So this is the video Cambodia, Kampuchea.
Monsieur.
Witness, do you recognize all or parts of this video?
allow me to say something about a section that is about a scene that was shot at my house. And the scene shown in this film, in this clip, is not the ones that being shot at my house. You could see that the tile on the floor in this film, in this clip, was old, but mine was new. And here you could see a plastic sheet was used to cover the floor, and that's not at my house. So this is not the films that was made there. And in fact, the film was also shown during case 001, and you could hear the voice of June, as well as the voice of the voice in English. That's why I denied that video clip. So, as I said, there was a confession in the Yuan language, and then there was a voiceover, or there was a second voice, either in English or in another language. And of course, that did not what happened. That's why I denied the existence of that video clip, and it is a new invention of fabrication and not the actual film that was shot at my house. As for the location shot where June soldiers were arrested, were not the ones that showed concrete or cement houses, because at the actual scene, that is at the junction of Street 163 and Mao Zedong Boulevard, there were only bushes. There was no house. So soldiers were instructed to rest their hands in the air, and then there were DK soldiers who were walking on the side. So this scene that is shown in these video clips was a later invention, not the one that was actually shot by S-21. And I do not wish to make any comments on other scenes, including the shot of Pol Pot.
Fine. So to sum up what you're saying, you believe that none of the passages in this video correspond to the film that was shot by Tung, Pol Pot's nephew, and you consider that this entire video is a fabrication and was filmed for propaganda purposes. Yes? You believe that this is a complete fabrication?
This film was not shot by Camera Tain at S21, and I refer to both segments.
And you said that the scene in which we see the prisoners being arrested could not have happened close to the intersection of Street 163 and Mao Zedong. I didn't quite understand, because there was a house that was there, and normally there shouldn't have been a house there. Is that what you said? I didn't quite understand your explanation regarding that scene where we see the arrested Vietnamese soldiers.
At that time, at that location, there was no house. Now there are many stories houses. The location was to the east of Street 163. And also to the west of Street 163, there was no proper house, and actually Brother Jad kept some children from the center there. And to the other side of the street there was a Chinese embassy, and in between there were bushes. Of course, Mao Zedong Boulevard was wide and long, and allow me to say that in Phnom Penh at that point in time, only rarely that you saw a car traveling past by, and not as busy as what it is now. So the landscape has changed dramatically, and I have stated to that effect. The scene of capturing Yuan soldiers was shot there. And also, that was the location that I instructed Ho to drop a dead body into the pond and to wait and see how many days the body would emerge. And that was later on Nat was executed, and also it was the location where the Westerners were killed and later on burned to ashes. I believe Your Honor has a sketch of the location, and if you have a photo from that time, there were only bushes within the vicinity, and there was no cement houses as shown in the video clip. The clip could have been shot after 7 January 1979. And if the film was to be shot at my house, in fact, behind the Yuan soldier, there would be a flag with the symbol of the Democratic Cambodia, that is a hammer and a sickle.
Can you tell us why this film would have been fabricated? Apparently, you described scenes that more or less correspond to what we can see in the film. Scenes of arrests, scenes in which prisoners confess. I'd like to remind you that the video was screened purposely without sound, because this video is part of a documentary in which there are many images, and in the documentary there are indeed Vietnamese prisoners making statements, and there is an English voiceover. So in order not to influence your thoughts, I preferred screening this video without sound. But however, why do you believe that such a fabricated film would have been made? What would have been the purpose of that?
They fabricated the films to fit their own purpose. As to which purpose, I do not make my subjective conclusion on that.
Bien.
Fine. A very last question now. You remember telling us that there was a sign that had been made and that was placed above the entrance to S21 during the anniversary of the party on 17 April 1978. Can you tell us exactly what the slogans that were displayed on this signboard?
As 21 never posted a banner or a placard at the main gate. That never happened. Indeed, we had about 10 or so placards or banners, and the purpose was to erect them on the 17th April and 30 September anniversary. That is the day of our victory, and for the 30th of September, that was the day of the inception of the party. And on the 17th April anniversary, we would display the placards for 3 days, and that happened nationwide. And after that, the placards would be taken off, and the content of the placards, including "Long live the Democratic the Communist Party of Cambodia," and there would also include a placard about the absolute opposition to CIA, KGB, and the territories following June agents. And such slogans were universal, that is nationwide, as they were instructed by the upper echelon. However, each entity had to prepare by themselves. So when you see a placard displayed over the main gate, that is a fabrication. Because usually for the anniversary, there were about 10 placards displayed all over the compound. And usually the content was to congratulate the Communist Party of Cambodia, as well as the defeat of the CIA, the KGB, and the territories following June agents. And I cannot recall contents of other placards.
Fine, thank you very much. Witness, I have no further questions to put to you.
Thank you, Judge. It is now convenient for our lunch break. We take a break now and resume at 1:30 this afternoon to continue our proceedings. Security personnel are instructed to take Kiel Sampon as well as witness Kangail Elias Deutsch to a separate waiting rooms downstairs, and have Mr. Kiel Sampon return to the courtroom before 1:30. As for witness Kangail Elias, have him returned to the courtroom at 1:30. The court is now in recess.